last Friday for the league final. At halftime, they honored the 2024 LL League Hall of Fame inductees. Our own Coach Phil Kauffman, who obviously has done play-by-play and everything with us for football coverage, but also was a legendary high school football coach at Cocalico. There you see him holding his glass bowl trophy there. I just want to show you, he was inducted into one of the inductees this year, but I want to show you what they wrote up as his accolades, and then you guys can comment on what Coach Kauffman has meant to this area. Here's his resume that started in 1975 for the old ball coach there at Cocalico. Of course, was a grad of Cocalico, but in his 28 seasons won 184 games, 33 straight league wins in that mid-90s when they were really cooking there, 94 to 97, 11 section championships, 9 times to the playoffs, won it twice in 85 and 94, I believe, and was voted the league coach of the year 7 times. Eric, you have known Coach Kauffman and covered him, and also been his broadcast partner for many, many years. So what does this mean for Coach, for Cocalico, for Lancaster County, for high school football, and all of that?
Well, first of all, it's so very well deserved. I mean, that resume speaks for itself. But there's 4 things that I think of, and it's 4 F's, and it's not my report card either. It's faith, family, football, and freedom. Phil Kauffman is a man of faith. His family, behind every coach, there's a strong spouse. I mean, let's face it, you can't do what he did without the support of his wife, Cindy, for that many years. And then you talk to any coach, I mean, it's a lot of sacrifice on the part of the spouse throughout those seasons. Obviously very proud about his sons. He loves talking about his grandkids, going to see their sporting events. Football, just drop the topic football and you could spend hours in a conversation with Coach Kauffman. And of course, the Freedom Party, I mean, the man just loves his country. But I think, you hear so many coaches talking about molding, boys into men, and coaches that that coach girls, taking ladies and girls and teaching them to become women, and it's just that development to get them ready for the rest of their life. You want to get Coach Kauffman really excited. You get somebody that played under him. He gets more excited about what they achieved as far as their job, as far as if they played college football, if they were in the military, they have a family. That is what is most important to him, because now he can see, his efforts, that he helped mold these guys into men to be productive people, out in the community. And I think that, you talk to any of his former players, and I think that they'll agree 100% that he was a huge influence on their lives going through the Cocalico football program. But I have to share this one thing, is that, even before I got into this broadcasting, when I was at Millersville in the spring of '81 for spring football, Coach Carpenter brought in various head coaches from the Lancaster Lebanon League. And that's when I got introduced to Phil Kauffman. But the ironic thing is that Coach Gene Carpenter had Coach Kauffman dealing with the receivers and catching passes. And I'm thinking, I look back on it now and thought, well, that's kind of an oxymoron. And I think not me, well, I guess me being the moron part, I guess. But the thing, and to this day, I remember it. He says, when that pass is thrown, you want to focus on the point of the football. That's what your eyes should be set on. So here's a guy that really did not throw the ball in his tenure, but he was coaching the receivers in that spring of '81, and it's something that I obviously will never forget, and it's something I remember to this day. So Congratulations, Coach Phil Kauffman. Well done. I salute you.
I knew your history went back a long ways. I didn't realize your history went back before I was even born. So that's even I'm getting educated here as this show goes on every year.
I guess I should have left the date out.
I think he's calling us old, Eric.
Usually I just call Eric old, but we can throw you in there, Bruce, if you don't want to be left out. Bruce, go ahead and give us your thoughts about kind of your interactions with Coach Kauffman and obviously this well-deserved accomplishment here towards the end.
Well, yeah, and I agree 100% with everything Eric just said. He, that was well said by Eric. That he very well deserved. And I look at his 33 straight league wins between '94 and '97. I mean, excuse me, I'm not sure I've even brushed my teeth 33 straight days in a row. But unfortunately, I didn't cover a lot of the games that Phil coached in high school because Todd Ruth was doing a tremendous job with the effort of review. But when we started covering Manheim Central in 2004, that's when we started covering more of Cocalico's games, and unfortunately he was done by then. But if you listen to Dave Gingrich or Brian Stroll talk, they can't say enough about the influence that Phil had on their careers, and just him molding them to pay attention to the details, just all the things you need to do to be successful coaches. So that says a lot. Just the words of Dave and Brian and how highly they speak of Phil. But I've gotten to know Phil personally because he's part of our lunch crew on Fridays, and like Eric said, he's just bring up football and he'll gladly talk to you forever. And the thing about Phil though is that he laughs at himself too, right? Like we tease him about how maybe he's only thrown he probably only threw 5 total passes in his career, and he laughs at it. Or we bring up if the anniversary of Pearl Harbor is coming up, we say, oh, Phil, you were graduated from college that year, right? But he's able to laugh at himself, and I love the guy. I'm blessed to call him a friend, and again, very very well deserved, Phil, and congratulations.
Well, yeah, and all of us here at Blue Ridge and everybody in the LL League is certainly blessed to have had Coach Kauffman either coaching or calling games on our channel or just being around to talk to us about whatever. I mean, yeah, I certainly don't have the history that you guys do, but it's always been a pleasure. And I think you talked about Coach Gingrich and Coach Stroll. They just carried on the legacy, right? Because when I think about those guys, they have turned boys into men and really turned them into productive members of society. And a lot of those players, whether it's Coach Kauffman's players, Coach Gingrich's players, and someday Coach Stroll's players, they've found their way back to Cocalico's coaching staff, right? There's plenty of players on those staffs that have played in all 3 of those eras. So it obviously has been important enough for them to come back and pay it forward as well. I will say, when you look at that number of when Coach Kauffman was hired in 1975, we're coming up on the 50th year anniversary next year of that. So it's just one of those big, significant numbers that we'll look back at, and hopefully maybe Coach Kauffman will be able to celebrate that as well. Last thought on that, you said about the passing, Bruce, every time I have to edit a highlight from the 1994 Bishop McDevitt win, there is one significant pass in there, Eric, when they threw it to Sola to keep the game going, to save the game. Yep. So at least, I always think of that too. Whenever they say he never threw, well, there was one pass, the only pass that I remember his coaching career that made a big significant deal, and they won the district championship that year.